can't hold it much longer. Gotta let go so I can be free.
Here we go, FT fam. What's up? It's Erik Kratz and Maybin. And we have today, then tomorrow, then no show on Thanksgiving, and no show on Friday. No FT. There's a little fair territory. We'll get into that later on. And I'm going to do this at the top of the show as well. I usually say some upcoming guests at the end, but I'll throw these two names out there. Brady Singer, who was just traded, is going to join us tomorrow. And Luis Heel, who won Rookie of the Year in the American League, is going to join us. That's one of the last great Kratz connections. What is it? What's the word I'm looking for?
I mean,
1 degree connection.
Yeah, I don't see how anybody that I have played with could win the Rookie of the Year anymore. So, like, I don't think it's possible, but I have to think about like the last Team USA, those kind of guys.
Yeah, they got to be, pretty young when you were playing with them and just making their way, or not even obviously making their way up through A-ball, AA, etc. So anyway, stay tuned on that front. We'll talk to people tomorrow. We got some good ones today, but let's start with a little news. Let's charge the mound.
Charging the mound.
All right, so a report out there from Katie Wu on where the Cardinals stand right now with Nolan Arenado, and this one's interesting. Included in the report is that he would move off of third base. And I'm like, wait, huh? He's 34 in April. He's willing to play first, or at least less at third, to create roster flexibility for a potential new team. This is obviously the first time that the Cardinals are officially, I'll say it, rebuilding. They keep saying taking a step back. It can be a quick rebuild. Rebuild doesn't have to mean tank and throw it all in the trash can for 5 years. Like, they can do a 1 or 2 year rebuild, but that's what they're doing. So they're, what I've read here, pretty aggressively trying to shop him, but they don't want it to be a money dump. So Cam, my 2 questions to start off the jump are, 1, why would any team besides maybe the Padres, wherever Bregman goes, and maybe 1 or 2 other teams, want to move Nolan Arenado's glove off of third? And 2, I do think that it's going to be complicated based on how much money he is owed over the next few years, and his numbers have been ticking down.
Yeah, I think he is, I would say, on, like most guys who have been in the league as long as he has been, is on the decline. But even on his decline, he's still better than most of the league at third base, right? Let's just be honest. So we're talking about his expectations of what he's done, but he's still one of the elite third basemen in the game. And I also do believe, and we've seen it before, I think a change of scenery, the right place, could reinvigorate him and give him that extra juice that he needs. Nolan Arenado is not an old man. And I think if he gets in the right situation or can land in the right situation, that it'll give him that spark again. And I think we can still see that Arenado that I believe is still in there, who can get back to, I want to say at his premier guy, but that guy who has continued to be elite. So, I would love to see it. We say it all the time. The Yankees need a third baseman. We don't know what they're going to do with Gleyber Torres. We don't know what's going to happen with Anthony Rizzo, DJ LeMahieu. I think his time as far as being a third baseman, we don't know what's going to happen there. We don't know what's going to happen with Jazz. So I think the right place could really give him a newfound love and energy that he needs. I think there's still a lot of good baseball left in Nolan Arenado.
Agreed. And I don't think third base is a position that your range necessarily declines like, say, a shortstop who has a good glove. So to me, I think you can get at least a solid 2 years of Gold Glove defense out of him. Is he going to win the Gold Glove? Maybe not. National League is tough. I mean, Alex Bregman wins it in the American League. I think if he's in the National League, he might have been, third or fourth. But you sit there and you go, this guy's not going to move off of third. I also don't think he's going to have 16 homers this year. People are easy to say, oh, he's declining. Look at his OPS plus the last 2 years. He was an all-star in 23. He was third, I think, in MVP voting in 22. I choose to believe, and maybe there's an ignorant player in me, chooses to believe it's still there. I think there's going to be an uptick. The guy wants to win. The guy left Colorado. He went to a place where he thought they were going to win. They haven't been winning. I feel like if he's not the focal point in your lineup, he is going to absolutely give you tons and tons of value.
Now, I see some questions flowing through the chat. Is there an unknown injury? Why move him? No, they're moving him because the Cardinals are going through a youth movement. They are trying to readjust payroll, and really they're trying to play some of their younger guys. That includes, for example, in this article, Brendan Donovan is mentioned. Can they get him consistent infield playing time? That's just one of the names that they bring up. Hey, can we find a spot for him more consistently? Goldschmidt's gone. He's a free agent now, and it was the Goldie Arenado era for a few years. And here's the part that helps to kick the trade off, because Nolan Arenado has full no trade rights. The Cardinals already sat down and had a conversation with him. It sounds like they got his blessing if it's a team that he feels really, really strong about contending. He is not suddenly going to be shipped to a team that was, a 90, 100 loss ball club last year, which obviously why would they go for him anyway? But there will be potentially a few vetoes in conversations that he has. I mean, he still can say, yeah, that's the one city I really don't want to be at. He has those rights. But overall, the agreement was, let us do some work. Let us find one or two suitors. And if they look like legit playoff teams that you're comfortable with, he'll say yes.
I'll tell you a really good spot as my brain is going now. We talk about potential suitors, potential fits, new ownership who I think really wants to win. The Baltimore Orioles could be a great fit for Nolan Arenado. They have the prospects that they could give up, and they also possibly have the ownership that may be willing to pick up that contract. So as we sit here, that could be a great fit for him and a team that they want to win right now, and they feel like they can compete right now.
They could add him. They could add him his salary, which the next 2 years, $5 million is paid by the Rockies each season. That's not a ton, but the salary keeps going down, and then 3 years from now, he's only paid $15 million. So his salary stuff isn't that big a deal, but they also have a very coveted reliever on their team. If you package Ryan Helsley with Nolan Arenado, you are looking, to me, you're looking at a haul that teams that are contending need both of those things. This is a 6-time Platinum Glove winner. This is a 10-time Gold Glove winner, 8-time All-Star. This is a guy that when put in the right situation will succeed. You add Ryan Helsley in there. I honestly thought this was a Phillies type of move. And they have some upper level pitching that the Cardinals love starting pitching. So he also 122. That's the most strikeouts he's ever had in one season, and that was in 2018 when he was third in MVP voting. He is normally right at the 95 to 105 strikeout range, which is huge for a team that doesn't want to strike out more. They want to strike out less.
Yeah, I like the Phillies idea.
I like that.
Yeah. Well, here, I'll push against your O's idea, just knowing that they're going to want Jackson Holliday at second and Jordan Westburg at third. With Gunnar at short.
Yeah, I say that, but in my eyes when I watch, I did it for a long time. I'm okay with giving up Jordan West. I'm trying to win now, right? I'm looking at the window of winning right now. I'm okay with giving West. Who was the third baseman? Is it Mayo?
Well, I mean, yeah, Mayo's a part of the mix here too.
I'm not thinking of Westburg. I'm thinking about some other prospects that they have a plethora of prospects that could be enticing. You know what I mean? I'm just
But where are you playing? I mean, are you kicking Westburg off? Because I mean, how's the infield lining up if it's Baltimore? Right. I know what you're talking about.
You
Mayo is a
Westburg. You would probably have to put Westburg in there. But I just over a 162 course of 162, like Kratz said, I'm taking Arenado even right now. I get it. I get the longevity, but I was a prospect once, and they always say, and I know he's not a prospect anymore, but Arenado's so established, and I think you put him in the right atmosphere, the right situation, I think he can bring a different type of spark that I don't think Westburg has right now.
I go Westburg the next 3 years over Arenado. That's me. Young, all-star, costs 1/1000th of the price. Just going against, I could see the Phils.
If he got to repeat it for me, you know what I mean? Now, if he does it again, now I'm okay with it. But I've seen a lot of guys have good seasons and then get exposed. I'm not saying he's going to get exposed. I believe in him. I love his body of work. But I'm just saying I need to see that consistency. But I like the Phillies fit too. I like the Phillies fit as well. You get Alec Bohm will have to be in there, I'm sure.
Yeah, and or it could be a 3-team deal, which some people are throwing out there. And Katie Wu in her article in The Athletic said, as the winter meetings approach, talks are likely to intensify. There's a growing sense throughout the industry that Arenado will be on the move. It does sound like, they've been doing some homework on it and haven't had much progress yet. I'm telling you, GMs these days, guys, they're so tough when they look at the Cardinals right now and they're trying to prey on them because they're like, ooh, I see still a lot of money left owed to a guy who's going to be 34 next season. I'm just telling you, that's how front offices operate nowadays. There are very few that are going to, they're more calling to say what's wrong with him in the deal. Just like 34-year-old free agents, guys. You know how that works, right? They want to call you so excited to tell you, well, you're not this, you're not that. Projections say you're not this. So you want this deal? To me, that's what's happening in these trade talks right now is, well, he's 34. His hard hit went down. His peripherals are down. His D's still elite, but not as elite as it was. And you're like, wait, so do you want him or not? Like, are we even having a conversation right now? And they're like, oh, yeah, but do you want to eat, 3/4 of the money? I'm just saying, I know how some of these teams work. Detroit would be a great fit if Alex Bregman doesn't land there. But Detroit is a very efficient front office up until this point. They're going to try and push them on money too. So I'm just curious how this is going to work out. And yes, you can see on the bottom corner there, right there. No, right there. Tiger territory. Maybe they'll talk about this at some point too. Make sure you check out the show. But last looks here on this topic. Any other teams that need third baseman that we're not thinking about? I don't think the Yankees will go there because I think they're trying to get younger. But
and I think Detroit is trying to get. I think Detroit is also trying to get younger. I think they like Bregman over. I don't think they want to bring in a 34-year-old. So I kind of touch on your point. So
Seattle, but again, it'll get tricky with money. That's the problem.
And does he really want to go play in Seattle, Kratzy? Let's be honest.
I think he'd like to. I think he'd like to help those dudes ERA, but I don't think anybody with a $20 million tag is going to Jerry DiPoto land. But if he goes to the Phillies, I think they can put together a nice little package for Alec Bohm with some of their pitching heavy, add maybe 2 pieces to their bullpen, the Phillies bullpen, and ship Alec Bohm over to Seattle in his back-to-back seasons of 97 RBIs.
There you go. One more team on the way out, the Blue Jays. But I think you're going to get dicey again with the potential veto. I mean, do we really think the Blue Jays are a playoff team coming up and next year? I don't know if they can sell on that. Do they need a third baseman after Chapman left? Desperately. But I could see Arenado looking at their situation plus the complications of a player who has full no trade rights saying, I don't feel like dealing with the Canada travel and saying no. So anyway, if there's other teams we're not thinking about, let us know. We can go over it during some of the TV breaks with the YouTube chat. So we'll be right back. We're going to talk to the new hitting coach hired for the M's, Kevin Seitzer, coming up.
Show me the money.
Show me the money! Show me the money!
That's a hefty payout. I love it. Look at the postseason shares that were just announced for the Dodgers winning the World Series. Each player with a share, each person with a share, and those shares get split up for some other team employees. But the number for a full share, almost $500,000. 477, 440. And then for the Yankees, 354, 571. What do you think about that, Cam? If you're a rookie and you were up here, I mean, you basically doubled your salary for getting through.
Oh, yes. Listen, especially if you're a guy that gets put on that roster late, anything like that, came up late in the season, was able to help. And then you realize, too, and the Dodgers have such a good group. They have a meeting. Usually the core guys usually have a meeting. They come together to decide, hey, this is what we're going to give the grounds crew. This is what we're going to give these guys, the staff members. They really do a good job. And, to see that happen, that's life-changing money for a lot of people. It seriously is. I was fortunate enough to get one of those checks. It's awesome. It's a great feeling when you get it in the mail or when it goes to that direct deposit. But that's cool to see. And a lot of people that we may not think about we're taking care of. That's what makes it, really so special.
December 2nd or December 9th. One of the next 2 Mondays is when that check comes in the mail. Some dudes are going to make some bad decisions with that cash. Some people will be buying that wide body when they should be, a 3 series, and they go out and buy that wide body. Other people, they invest it. But I'm interested to see how many shares they actually gave out, because that shows, to me, it shows a lot about the generosity, but it also, it's a whole nother topic that we had to spend more time on. What teams expect players to give to some employees. So it'll be interesting when they say how many shares they gave out, not just how much.
I'll just shout out one player, Brent Honeywell. I don't know how much he got, when he first was drafted, but I mean, he just dealt with all kinds of injuries and issues and never was really making bank, and then contributed to this Dodgers team. He wasn't a high leverage guy, but we talked to him in spring training, and he's trying to figure out why he can't crack the Pirates. And he ends up with the Dodgers winning a World Series and getting himself an extra $500,000 plus a ring. Not bad. All right, Kevin Seitzer, new hitting coach for the Mariners, coming up. Here we go. Kevin Seitzer just hired by the Seattle Mariners to be their hitting coach. I mean, the news fresh today, and longtime hitting coach for the Braves, among many other accolades. Kevin, congratulations. Thank you for joining us on FT, and tell us more about the news and how this all came together.
Well, I'm extremely excited, to say the least. What's up, Cam? What's up, Kratzy?
What's up, my guy?
There's 2 of my favorites right there. They were good ones. But no, we're just thrilled. I mean, it all came together. I mean, it took a while for him to announce it, but I'm thrilled to death. Going to be working with Edgar. He's going to be the main guy, and I'll be underneath him. And then Mags, who's been with me the last 4 years in Atlanta, is going to be there too. So, we're fired up, excited. I'm doing my recon, getting to know the hitters and swings, and reached out to them, and it'll be a fun ride.
Hey, Sites, I've gone on record to say that I think you are one of the best hitting coaches in the game. Through experience, I think I tell you all the time, I appreciate you. You changed my career for sure. And one thing that you did, what I thought was special, is early in the season you came to me when you first got me, and you said, "Hey, my bad." You said, "I apologize." You said, "I've been telling you to think right field, but I'm looking at you. I'm watching your long levers. I'm watching how you move. Couple things you want to do. I want to get the ball close to you, but I also want you to start to think opposite fields, anything right of second base." And that approach literally changed the trajectory of my career. How important is it as a hitting coach to not just have this, I would say, universal philosophy that you see a lot of guys telling everybody, look for the ball up and out over, do this mechanically, do that mechanically. But how important is it to understand each individual guy and what may click for him, and how that can change the trajectory of where he's going?
Yeah, it's critical. I mean, and that's the thing where when you come into a new group of guys, you got to get to know them. Lots of conversations, lots of questions that I ask after watching all the video. And then once you get to work with them, you see how they move in the cage, see some issues potentially that happen consistently in the game. After you get feedback from them, then you can start to make some tweaks and adjustments. But, for me, staying in the middle of the field's everything. I mean, the more you think the opposite field, the longer you see the ball, better decisions you can make at swinging at strikes. You'll sacrifice a little bit power-wise from the fastball, but on the off-speed stuff, that's when you can pull that for power. So, you pick your spots when you want to go sooner. You may pick your spots of where you're going to hunt in a different location, but majority of hitters like the ball right down the middle, and they like to put the fat part of the bat on it consistently. And timing's everything. Hitting off the fastball is huge. A lot of times hitters have a chance to get caught in between and start reacting to fastballs, or they start reacting to fastballs for strikes because they don't want to chase. So it comes to what you see watching video and then asking questions as to what they feel their tendencies are, and then we go from there.
Seitz, I told you to wear something nice. This is what you chose. I texted you, if you're going to come on, you need to wear something nice. And this is what you chose? Like some backfield Under Armour t-shirt?
I took my hoodie off because it just wasn't appropriate. So I just have my t-shirt on that's left. But I've seen your act on this show, so I knew I was going to be overdressed with what I'm wearing.
Me? Well, I appreciate you being an FT fan. All right, so now I'll get to my next question. Do you feel like you coach, and you just talked about getting to know the players, do you feel like you coach younger players better or veteran players? And I ask that because when we were in Toronto together, it seemed like some of the older players didn't necessarily gravitate to what you had to say in the essentially 1 year that you were there. Like, they didn't give it time. And then we see what happened in Atlanta, and proof's in the pudding. And now you're going to a predominantly younger team right now.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say that I connect better with younger versus older. I like working with both. You get the young guys that are hungry and fired up, that you kind of gotta help with some guidance and direction, and maybe pull back on the reins of being a little too over aggressive, trying to do too much. And then you got the veteran guys that have been there, done it, and know how to make adjustments, have a little bit slower heartbeat in the batter's box, but there's still adjustments and tweaks that they know that they need to make from time to time based on, when they're going bad versus good. So, it's sometimes can be less maintenance, and it depends, again, going back to the relationships and the trust. I mean, I felt like that year in Toronto, Edwin Encarnacion and Jose Bautista, I felt like we were very tight. I challenged them to try and beat shifts with 2 outs and hit the ball the other way, and pick up 2-out RBIs, and they took several shots at doing it. And I felt like, man, that's pretty cool when you got run producing, big power, middle of the order bats that, will sacrifice going for a homer to pick up an RBI because you're in a close game. I mean, it spoke volumes to the dugout, spoke volumes to me. So, it just comes back to getting to know the guys and establishing that relationship and trust. And then you got Hall of Famer Edgar Martinez going to be sitting there right next to you that, the conversations we've had so far have been phenomenal, and we think along the same lines. So I'm just going to try and be an extension of what he wants these guys to do. And when he came in the last part of the season last year, it was basically transform the offense, and we're just going to try and continue to keep that rolling.
Sight, so that leads me right into this question. As you know, we've all seen some of the struggles in the past with the Mariners lineup. And, I'm a firm believer. I think it's all about having the right people in place. I think all the teams are talented. I think it's about getting the best out of guys. That's been a part that guys have had, struggles hitting in. What is the philosophy, or let me say the philosophy, what have you seen that you really want to gain that trust on, that you want to, really preach, that you've seen, where the struggles have been? Can you touch on that?
I'm in the beginning stages of digging in on these guys, but, just going off what Edgar's told me, and, front office, when we've had conversations through the interview process, and then after I got the job, some of the things that they were saying was just Edgar got him in the middle of the field and using the off gap, and, getting back on the fastball. There was a lot of sitting on pitches, taking percentage of counts or percentage of pitches in certain counts, and then kind of selling out to that. And then when you're wrong, you're in trouble. And, it's a lot of guessing and a lot of in between. And Edgar just got him, hunting the fastball, staying in the middle of the field the other way, and just be aggressive. And, that's, for me, that's my number one MO is, you got to have hitters that are aggressive, but the more you have a plan of where you're hunting that fastball and then trying to stay in the middle of the field, it helps with timing, helps with recognition, helps repeat that good swing path to stay inside the ball more consistently. So, bottom line, you guys know it's just trying to put the fat part of the bat on the ball consistently, and wherever it goes, it goes. We'll make tweaks and adjustments to the swing. I got my notes that I'm taking now. I'm writing down as I'm watching video on these guys, and it's just gonna help ask conversations. The things that I'm seeing. I haven't watched every game. Obviously, I'm picking my spots as to where I see them going good and then not so good, and just seeing observations that I write down. So we'll see how the process unfolds. I'm excited and looking forward to getting to know these kids.
Elephant in the room, Seitz. You're going to be watching these. You're going to be watching these tapes. Punch outs. This team punches out a lot, and I know, and I want you to explain it. But I know how you want to talk to guys, and you eliminate words when you talk to them. But that's an elephant in the room. Punch outs. Dudes come over that don't even punch out that much and punch out more. How do you address that specifically?
It is an elephant in the room, and it can be a problem. And for me, bottom line is not panicking when you get 2 strikes. Trust in your zone. A lot of times hitters will get in between, then they'll be late on fastballs, or they feel like they got to protect every pitch instead of every pitch that's going to be a strike. And to be able to do that is just being able to quiet down, keep the game slow, not let it speed up, and keep your approach the other way. If you get blown up, you get blown up, but not look to react to fastballs in and pull them. It's more trust and stay the other way with your approach. Because like I said earlier, the longer you can see the ball, the better you have to check off strike to ball stuff. And pitching's pretty good these days. You got electric fastballs, electric secondary stuff, and being able to recognize the strike to ball stuff is really the big difference maker. But a lot of times once guys get to 2 strikes, there can be a little bit of panic to where, oh my gosh, don't punch out. We punch out too much. And that's got to be so far down the list of things you're concerned about. Stay on the fastball, keep your approach the other way, quiet yourself down, shorten up, and grind your butt off through the rest of the at bat.
All right, so we have a whole wide array of people, baseball fans, non-baseball fans, people just think Cam is good looking that watch this show. And they want to know 3 hitting coaches. Let's be honest. Is Edgar ever going to flip a ball? Is he ever getting behind the L screen and flipping the ball? And is that why you brought Bobby, maybe the greatest man in all of baseball? And I mean man. I don't mean coach or anything like that. Just greatest man in all of baseball. Is that why you brought Bobby? Because Edgar's not going to do his own flipping?
No, I don't know how this is going to unfold. I know me and Mags we're good at flipping, so we'll take care of the boys, and Edgar can sit on a stool or a chair if that's what he wants to do, or he can get in there and he can flip if that's what he likes to do too. So, he's going to be leading the show, and we're going to follow him and see how it works out.
Who in Atlanta really took hold of what you were saying? Who did you feel like in your time that you were there really took hold of what you were saying? Because I look at guys like a Ronald Acuna. He has up and down years. He's supremely talented. I'm like, Kevin Seitzer just needs to not screw that one up. Like I talked to Phil Plantier about going in and coaching, being a hitting coach for the Angels. Like, just don't screw up Trout and Ohtani. Like, that's pretty much. But who do you feel like took all these things that you're talking about, these approaches, and actually grew and developed into the hitter that they are now?
I mean, I don't know. I like to feel like I had it was a father-son relationship with all of them. I mean, I felt like all of them were my own kids, and they were all really, really good, really talented. I felt like there was buy-in from all of them. I mean, they were all trying to do the very best they could to be successful. I felt like there was trust there throughout. I mean, you guys know how hard the game is. I know how hard the game is, and you wanna try and help these guys through the tough times. And so, I can't really put my finger on one person that I would like, one hitter that I'd say, oh, well, he's the reason, that he did so well. It's because of he listened to this or that. I mean, I don't know. I felt like I had a great relationship with all of them, and to be there for 10 years was unbelievable, and to go through the rebuild when I first got there, to have 7 straight postseasons was pretty special. So I'm looking forward to hopefully continuing that streak and getting Seattle to the postseason and to a World Series, and bring that. It'll be a great time, great run. We got some good pitching, so excited to try and push a few more runs across the plate.
I'd be remiss if I didn't say 10 years at one team as a hitting coach is essentially like 5 times longer, 6 times longer than the average lifespan of a hitting coach for one team is a year and a half. So you staying one place for 10 years is a testament to the relationships that you built for that team. So now as you move on to finding, and I don't think the Mariners were the only team that was interviewing you, what questions did you ask when you talked to that team, when you talked to the Mariners, when you talked to, I assume, Jerry DiPoto, I assume Edgar's in the room? What questions did you ask so that you're not just diving into a shark pool?
I mean, I didn't really have to ask any questions. I mean, how much am I going to make, and can I get this? Can I get that? Can I get an iPad? And it's like, can my insurance be covered? And that's pretty much it. They told me how it was going to be before the whole process started, with Edgar being, senior director of hitting, and would I be okay with that? And I'm like, absolutely. I mean, holy cow. Nobody in their right mind would turn down an opportunity to have Edgar Martinez as a guy right there in the corner that's another sounding board and hitting coach that you can, ask for help. And number one, he's been there with these kids for all these years. And, then he was with them every day in the dugout at the end of the season. It's like, I didn't have to ask any questions. Really, the biggest thing was the way I scout. I like to have my laptop, and I like to have an iPad. And the Braves took my iPad back, so I needed another iPad, and we got that covered. So we're good to go.
There you go. I love that. All right. I got 2 for you. One is, let's start with Seattle. I just want to ask about one player, and if you haven't seen enough yet that you don't feel comfortable, that's okay, and I can move to my other question. But Julio Rodriguez is such a super talent. Curious if you've gotten to see some tape of his at-bats this year, and if that came up during your discussion, because we all know what he's capable of, and he's shown that. And sometimes I'm like, is this mechanics? I know he did a lot of changes last offseason and then kind of reworked himself back to what he was, but just curious for your take.
Well, I've watched a lot, and I mean, holy cow, the way he finished, it was unbelievable. The dude was smoking hot. I mean, we're talking homers, we're talking staying on secondary stuff on 98, 99. I mean, it was impressive. And, it's no secret that he has gone on record multiple times about the impact that Edgar had on him. And it was really, I mean, talking to Edgar, just get in the middle of the field and get on the fastball. And I mean, I've saw him hit oppo homers. I've seen him stay on secondary stuff and one-hand sliders into the seats, doubles down the line. The kid's an incredible talent. I mean, I got to be with Acuna for all these years, and getting to watch him go win an MVP a couple years ago was super special. And, I feel like this kid is every bit as special as Ronnie was, and I'm excited to be with him.
So that's really just my question. Who do you think, watching the tape, is it too early to say if he could be better just because he has a little bit more size than Ronald? Does he have things that could make him, if he unlocks those things, can he go to the next level like Acuna did?
Too early to tell. Sorry.
That's fine. That's fair. Just got the
No,
job.
that's fair.
That's why we're
I
asking.
just got the job. I've watched a lot of ABs, but until you get to have conversations with him, and like I said, I can't say how excited I am enough about Edgar because, when you have a hitting coach who's established relationships and trust with hitters, and you get to pick their brain about what makes them tick. I mean, usually that's the hard part about our job is finding which buttons to push in order to get them going when they start to scuffle. And when you got a resource like that can fast forward that process, it's just going to make all the difference in the world.
All right, one more question for me, and then Kratz can say goodbye at the end since he's the best at that. So with Atlanta, was there anything on the way out that you guys talked about? I mean, was it as simple as, hey, Kevin, listen, I mean, usually the average shelf life's 1.5 years. I mean, we're really pushing at this point to even allow this to continue. But in all seriousness, was there anything to it, or just, hey, it's been a really long time? And I don't know, do they point to the team how can you even point to a down season on offense when they were missing half the club?
Yeah, I mean, really it was, Alex just said thanks a lot, and we just feel like we're going to go a different direction and get a different voice in here, and I totally understand. I mean, like you said, our job, the shelf life is pretty short, and to be able to have the longevity and the success and win a World Series and get a big ring and all of that. I mean, and oh, by the way, I heard what the share was for the Dodgers and the Yankees. Holy cow, that would be really nice this year too. I can tell you that. But no, it was. I just thanked them for everything and appreciated the time there. So, no bitterness, no animosity, just ready to see what God's got in store the next step down the road. And thankfully, He's led me here, and I'm thrilled and ecstatic to get going.
You're going to be awesome with it. But I have to say, the Braves took your iPad. It felt like they took their ball and went home. Are they going to come and get their World Series trophy that you stole from them? I mean, now you're going to tell me, oh, you bought that and everything. Are they going to come and take their World Series trophy back too?
No, I did buy that if you want to see it.
That's nice. That's nice. I love that. Hey, you got to do it when you win it. If they're offering that, you take it. It's the perfect background. If anything, though, just maybe, next time you're on with it, just hold it, or you can put it right next to you. Give it even more love, Kratz loves that. But Kevin, in all seriousness, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on getting the gig. I know a lot of M's fans watch and listen to the show, so they'll be pretty fired up about this. Good luck. And yeah, we'll catch you in during the season or in spring training. All right.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Good seeing you. Take care.
Thank you. That's Kevin Seitzer, new hitting coach for the Mariners. I'll be right back. That's the point as a hammer to a hitting coach. You basically just pulled off the most legendary performance ever by sticking with one place for how many years? 10 years as hitting coach for one place? I mean, I couldn't do enough math to start looking through other hitting coaches on other teams, but is there anyone else that just went on a 10-year run? I highly doubt it.
Not a 10-year run. Like guys that come to my head, I think like what Kevin Cash had a good run with the Yankees.
You're saying before he was,
but that'd be before. I mean,
Rays.
nobody.
He was with the Guardians, right? But I don't know.
Excuse me.
He was a
Kevin
bullpen
Long.
coach.
Kevin
Long.
Kevin
I was
Long.
like Kevin
Long.
Cash.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Kevin Long. Yeah.
Did he?
Okay.
But
Chad Mottola,
Seitz.
I think, is the longest now. Motor in Tampa is probably the longest. Pitching coaches stay around a decent amount longer. Hitting coaches, though, man, look at the job. You're teaching dudes to not fail as much as they do. Like, The best hitters are failing 7 out of 10 times. So it's like you see that over and over again. It's draining because you're in there exactly like Seitz said. You're in there draining with those guys. You're imploring them to be able to like figure something out because they want to figure it out, and you're trying your best along with them. And I think they get burned out. They get burned out too. It's not always just teams firing them.
You asked a great question though, and I think you hit on it. And I think he's going to be really good for the M's. You said, who does he get along with better, the young guys or the old guys? And even though he couldn't really answer it, just being around Seitz, and I think, Kratzy, you'll agree with me. The thing that Seitz does that the game has kind of went away from, right, is teaching guys to be complete hitters, right? Being okay with, not hitting the homer. What's going to happen this year, mark my words, is they're going to get better. The strikeouts are going to go down. They might not hit for as much power, but I guarantee they have more hits as a team, right? If they adopt that approach, they're going to have more success. And that's one thing that I found early was like, okay, some guys, depending on who you are, you might lose a little power, but you get more hits, and there's nothing more fun than getting hits. I'm telling you. And I think once they become okay with that in that ballpark, I think they'll start to find their identity, and they'll have a little bit more fun offensively. That's what he brings to the table. It's that old school approach where like, hey, 3-hole, 4-hole, 5-hole. Like we still want guys that are complete hitters, right? Like we don't want just the feast or famine guys. And that's his philosophy.
Let's hit the inside scoop with FT Senior Insider Ken Rosenthal. Ken, good to see you. I listened to Fair Territory yesterday, which everyone can absorb, and it started with the Yusei Kikuchi signing. So I'll follow up on that one and push it forward. How do you think it affects the market for mid-tier starters, the ones that aren't really Snell, Fried, and Corbin Burns? Some fans in our chat said, oh, this might be an overpay. I'm like, I don't know. It's like the qualifying offer for 3 years.
Actually, if you look at Tim Britton in The Athletic and his free agent predictions, his prediction for Kikuchi was 3 years, $63 million. Bingo. MLB Trade Rumors, their prediction was 3 years, $60 million. So when you ask Scott, how will this affect the market? This is the market. And this is what a mid-tier starter gets in this day and age. So for Sean Manaea, for Luis Severino, for some of those other mid-tier starters, obviously, it's a good development, but not a surprising development. This is about where people who know this stuff, like Tim and Trade Rumors, thought this would end up.
And are you surprised that the Angels are doing this? I mean, I know you mentioned also Artie Moreno sometimes is pretty quiet, and then sometimes wakes up and says, hey, let's get after it a little bit more. Does this tell you anything about what the Angels think of their ball club? They have a lot of work to do to get from where they were, worst season ever in franchise history, to relevancy.
They certainly do. They finished last place. They were 6 games behind the A's in the AL West. And while they have an intriguing group of young players with Zach Neto, who might miss the start of the season, and Chanuel and Ben Joyce and Logan O'Hoppe, at the same time, they are, like you said, Scott, ways away. So what they've tried to do this offseason is kind of interesting. They brought in a bunch of 30-somethings, guys who have good reputations, good character guys in the clubhouse. From Soler to Kevin Newman to Kyle Hendricks to Travis d'Arnaud and now Kikuchi, this is a solid group of players. The question is, will it be enough? And that's always the question with the Angels. They do these things, they make moves, they don't rebuild, but it always seems, actually I shouldn't say always, but it often seems like they're spinning their wheels. And depending upon what else they do, it remains to be seen if this season will be any different.
So I want to stay on that. Go ahead, Kratzy. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I want to stay on the Angels because I'm with you, Ken. They go out and they sign their ace, I guess you could say. You get rid of Estevez, who was really good in the bullpen last year. Where are they going? You talk about the middle of the infield. I keep thinking about a guy in Gleyber Torres. What else are they trying to do? Because I know Ron Washington is a defensive first guy. He wants to shore up the middle of that infield. Is there a place or a world where Gleyber Torres may be a fit when you talk about the 30-somethings?
Glaber's an interesting name for them. They need a second baseman or a third baseman. Renifo can play either or. And Glaber's defense is spotty. It's inconsistent. His focus seems to waver. So I don't know if he'd be the ideal fit there, but he's certainly a name that is out there, kind of an intriguing guy because he's still a very talented player. Now, they still have to rebuild their bullpen. They might need one more starter as well. There are things that they can and should do, but let's not forget too, we've had this conversation now for a couple of minutes and we haven't even mentioned Mike Trout. Mike Trout has to be healthy and playing and productive for this team to be anything close to what it intends to be. Rendon is kind of out of the equation at this point. If he gives them anything, they'll consider that a massive bonus. They're not expecting it. But Trout is still the centerpiece of the group. Now, whether he's in center field or one of the corners or DHing more, that remains to be seen. But a healthy, productive Mike Trout is really the key for the Angels. And of course, we haven't seen that guy in some time now.
On Fair Territory, you broke down the cost cutting for the Braves. Is this was this going to happen no matter what? If they had won the World Series this year, were they going to be doing this cost cutting to be able to fit another piece? I think if you did the math, I think it was like $27 million that they could try to fit in another player into that without going over the CPT threshold for the third straight year. Is that what you said?
Yes. Yes.
Was this do you feel like the moves they're making, was this going to happen anyway, no matter if they had a successful season like they had hoped to have if everyone had been healthy?
Eric, it's a good question. Certainly, if they had won the World Series, the equation changes. Teams that win the World Series make a lot of money and generally are willing to reinvest it to some degree in the following year's team. And you see the moves that they've made so far, they've all been cost-cutting moves for the most part. Now, they're going to do some things. And the thing that has changed for them, and the reason why they've had to be this aggressive in reducing payroll thus far, is because Acuna and Strider will not be ready for the start of the season. We don't know exactly when they'll make their debuts, but they need a starting pitcher to replace Strider, at least temporarily, an outfielder to replace Acuna, at least temporarily, and beyond all that, they've also lost Joe Jimenez, who was their setup man last year. He's a guy who was a really good setup man, and they've got to find the spot for him too. So what they've been doing is trying to save wherever they can with the goal of building back up and replenishing in some of these areas where, at least early in the season, right field, starting rotation, they're going to have needs.
Ken, let's go to Juan Soto. I mean, there are so many random reports. Social media is just going nuts. There's people that I'm learning about that I've never heard of. I'm not trying to slight anyone. Someone might be on the money, but there's so many reports out there with different money, different teams involved. We know some people are very wrong. So when you're trying to sort through this, and I know you have your own standards of how you report, what do you think about what's being thrown out there right now?
We don't know what's going on right now. And certainly there are offers being made. That's been reported. That I believe to be true. As Brendan Cuddy of The Athletic reported this morning, this is the first phase. This is the preliminary offers. The offers then will be redone next week, perhaps, and they go from there. This all points toward the winter meetings. That's the one thing I'm confident about, that this thing will get done in or around the winter meetings. As far as who is offering what, we don't know that just yet. And it's all speculation. It's fun to think about, and it's interesting to talk about, but as you see there from Brendan, offers for Juan Soto are expected to go through multiple rounds. The first round is expected to be preliminary, meant to gauge genuine interest from all parties. And then this starts around next week when it kind of accelerates again. All the stuff that is out there right now, beyond the teams interested, we really don't have much of a feel for. We know pretty much the teams interested. That, I think, we can say with some certainty. The 5 teams that have been listed all along: Mets, Yankees, Dodgers, Blue Jays, Red Sox. Beyond that, Scott, I don't have a lot of information, and there's not going to be a lot of good information, at least not yet.
That's fair. Okay, let me take you to Nolan Arenado. I liked the story this morning from Katie Wu to provide more context on where the Cardinals are at and the possibility that they're going to amp up conversations around the winter meetings to try and trade him. What did you take from her reporting? And do you think this is going to be difficult to pull off? We were trying to figure out teams that would be a good fit. Some of those teams, like, let me just throw an example out to you. Toronto, would he waive his no trade clause? I know he said he would for certain cases. They're not proven to be contenders and winners, and there's always the complications of Canada. So curious what you think and how difficult this could be to pull off.
I do believe it will be difficult. It's the money that he is owed. It's the fact that he has been in decline the last 2 years. It's the full no trade clause. It's all of that. And the Cardinals are not going to want to eat a lot of money, and yet teams taking Arenado are saying, whoa, we're not paying the rate that he is currently being paid at. That's not where he is valued right now. So that's going to be one problem right there. That said, there is, as Katie pointed out in her story, a lot of incentive for both sides to get this done. The Cardinals want to create opportunities for younger players. Nolan Arenado wants to play for a winner. He thought that was going to happen, and it did happen for a time when he was with the Cardinals. That's why he approved the trade from the Rockies to the Cardinals. But obviously, the Cardinals now are shifting into sort of a retooling mode, and they're being very upfront about that. So there is incentive and motivation on both sides, but it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. Now, the most newsworthy part of Katie's article is when she mentioned, quoting sources, that Arenado is willing to play other positions, first base, perhaps even less at third, in order to facilitate a trade, make himself more attractive for a potential suitor. As a first baseman, with his declining offensive numbers, it's still not great, but clearly he is desiring to get to a place where he can win again, and that's the one thing. He hasn't played that many playoff games in his career. I believe it's only 8. And that's something that, for Nolan Arenado, is not good enough. He wants to get back to October.
Everybody can pretty much agree the Nats are taking steps forward. You talked about a Jason Worth type of signing. Is there because you look at Jason Worth and you say, okay, well, who's the outfielders on the market? And all, I think it's more of just the general player that is going to bring more people in. Is there a length? Do you think that the Nats are looking for a contract? Like, if obviously Kikuchi is not one of those types of people. It's a 3-year deal, older player. Are we looking at somebody that's going to be garnering 5-8 years? Is that the type of player that you think the Nats may or may not go after?
No, I don't expect they're going to do something that dramatic. Their ownership has not spent in recent years. They have not wanted to spend. The team is for sale. It's not for sale. It keeps changing. With Worth, going into the 2011 season, they had kind of a similar foundation to what they have now. An emerging young core, a team with great promise, and they wanted Worth to provide that veteran influence, and they gave him 7 years, $126 million, which at the time was considered a massive overpay. Now, there are players out there who fit them rather well. Christian Walker is one. I mentioned him. Now, he's going to be 34. That could be a deterrent for a longer deal, of course, but maybe a 3-year deal. But the problem with Christian Walker for the Nationals is he's probably going to have better options. Anthony Santander is another player to whom they've been linked. He's an outfielder. They've got outfielders, but he's the kind of guy, too, that could help kind of be an anchor for what they are intending to be going forward. The ultimate question here is whether the Lerner family, the owners of the team, are willing to make a sizable investment again. Now, yes, they offered Soto $440 million a couple of years ago. It was an offer they probably knew he would refuse, and it went from there. I just don't know if their intention is to spend big. That's the question I have. They can piece this together and sign a veteran here, a veteran there, kind of mid-level guys, or they can go for someone bigger who could have that kind of impact that Worth had all those years ago. And I should say this, for Jason Worth, yes, at the time it was considered an overpay, but when you look at what he did for the Nationals and the stability he provided, the fact that he kind of became a magnet for other players as well, and the performance, it was well worth the money for them.
So, Ken, we just talked about a organization heading in the right direction. And as we talk about all these free agents, the moves and possibilities, the one team that another offseason is upon us and we don't hear anything about is the Minnesota Twins. In that division, you see the Detroit Tigers starting to come on. You see what the Royals are starting to do, starting to piece together some veterans with their youth. What are the Twins doing right now? Like, where are they as an organization? We've heard about them shopping Byron Buxton possibly. The Correa deal hasn't – I think we could all say he hasn't played up to that deal. Royce Lewis tends to stay hurt. Where are the Twins right now? What are they trying to do to kind of give their fan base a little hope?
Cam, it's a great question. And it seems to me that they're not too eager to spend, that they're going to do piecemeal things. Now, the key thing with the Twins, they like their team. They've got a lot of pieces in place, as you just mentioned. The question is, can Buxton, can Lewis, and Correa stay on the field all at once? Didn't happen all that often last year. Would they entertain a Correa trade? He's got a full no trade. They could entertain it, but that's not the direction they want to go in. So really, they will either need to be creative or sign a couple of players that they feel can fill in the gaps for them. Perhaps in the bullpen would be one area to explore. But their position group, their team overall, when you look at them, it's quite talented. So there's still a good chance that they'll be a good club next year, even if they don't do a whole lot. But hey, they had a horrible finish to the season, and everyone knows it. So it would behoove them, in my opinion, to kind of inject a little energy into the clubhouse, into the fan base, and go forward from there. Because as you mentioned, Cam, that division's getting better. Cleveland's good. Kansas City was much better last year, of course. Detroit, the same. And the White Sox will still be in a rebuilding mode this year, but eventually they're going to be on the rise as well.
Ken, this is great info as always. Appreciate the time. Good to see you. And we will see you on Fair Territory on Friday for a special Black Friday edition. So we'll see you then, okay?
Yep, same price as always, too.
Ooh, that's good. I like that. I'm going to tell AJ that. Actually, he's watching, surprisingly. Thank you, Ken. AJ texted me, so he is watching and listening. That was good. You like that, Kratz?
I love that.
Fair Territory is on Black Friday, but the price is the same, $3.99. You can get it wherever you find your pods. If you're listening, if you're watching, it's on the Foul Territory YouTube channel. For our TV crowd, we'll be right back. All right, while we're on the topic of Black Friday, you can join Anytime Fitness from November 18th, which already happened, obviously, through December 2nd. So that gets you through Black Friday. You get the rest of the year free. And you know, if you've been listening to this show, watching the show for a while, what they can bring to the table. The gym's open 24/7. There's personalized plans. There's supportive coaches. There's the Anytime Fitness app, which is stacked. And Cam, I'll ask you this question because we've done this with some of our hosts. If you're just trying to stay in shape, you're on the road a lot, you're just that common person, you're not necessarily this big time athlete with all these connections, how much of a difference do you see the world now versus not too long ago when you're scrapping and clawing to figure out how you can work out, like doing push-ups and sit-ups in a hotel room? And nowadays, obviously, we've partnered with Anytime Fitness because you can just look up where the gym is, hit it up, get the job done.
It makes it a lot easier, especially if you want to keep that Kratzy body. You know what I mean? Just to be able to just look it up instead of, sometimes the hotel gyms aren't, the best, right? And sometimes that little calisthenic workout in the room doesn't quite hit the spot. So to be able to, have that option to just find Anytime Fitness, you can continue to look like Kratz even through the holidays. You know what I mean?
That's the line. That's it. He's got it. We've been working on our ad sales pitch for a while. That last line, Kratz, I think, did it. Hey, if you've been figuring out how to look like Kratz, we've got it for you. Anytime Fitness. Join.
Period.
Right now up until December 2nd. If you do, you'll get the rest of the year free for your membership. 5,000 plus well-equipped gyms open 24/7. Yeah, the training, the nutrition, the recovery guidance, the whole deal. And you can hit the QR code on the screen to take you right to the website. FT fam, we'll be right back. We'll go over actually a new bench coach who just played in the bigs, and then schedule changes for next year and one city thinks that they're pretty close to getting an expansion team. I'm not sure. All right, so let's go over expansion city talk, since there are baseball fans that are in cities where they really wish they had a team. So here, anytime we hear any rumors or quotes, we're going to bring it up. So let's sizzle hot corner time. The mayor-elect in the city of Portland, Oregon, said this on a local TV show recently. I'd say this is as close as we've come. We feel confident it's down to us and one other city, and we're making a solid play. I believe that they're in the mix. I do not believe that the process is so far along already that we're ruling out all of the rest of the cities and it's down to them and one other city. I don't know exactly what he's talking about. I mean, I will say this, Kratz, he might be referring to them or one other city in the West, because it sounds like when they do expand, assuming that we don't get a relocation from a Tampa Bay Rays situation, they'd get one team out West and one team considered East, right? East half of the country, West half of the country. But did you take anything from this, or do you think this is a politician trying to sound good?
So I'll go back to the end of 2018. And I know that the group in Portland that's putting together a bid to have a team was very confident. Very confident enough to say that, hey, we'd love to, maybe have you be part of this group. Now, obviously, things have dragged along. The Rays Stadium and the A's Stadium have been the issue essentially the whole time. They have to figure that stuff out before. But if he's saying this, he's going to be in office for a little bit. He's going to be in his government seat for a little bit. Maybe he really is. I mean, what else on the West Coast? Because maybe Vegas isn't going to happen because John Fisher isn't really good at solidifying or finishing anything. So maybe a little Nashville, a little Portland, and then we'll split every team and we'll just have an East and a West. No longer we're going to have National League, American League, and the teams will be even.
I think there's legit competition with Salt Lake City too. I don't know if that's who he's referring to, and maybe I'm missing some other cities on the West Coast right now that are in play, but I do think Salt Lake City can present a strong case as well.
What it helps too is it helps with travel, because you think about how much of an island Seattle is on. That will mitigate some of that travel for not just the American League West or the teams in the West, which I don't think there will be an American League West, Central, and East anymore. I think it will mitigate that travel where you can boom, you can hit Portland and Seattle. And I think that goes into it. Obviously, it's going to be cash rules the world around me, but it is going any city that can push the cash, has the cash, that could be something that could push Major League Baseball to be like, yeah, like we like that. We like the ability to have two teams up in the Northwest.
Yeah, I think I like that. I think that would definitely help mitigate with some of that travel that is, as a player, can be a nuisance, a headache. But when he first spoke about it, Kratzy, I'm not going to lie, just because we both have probably played there, Nash Vegas was the place that I thought, when you talk about the other possibilities of the other cities that may be in close running with Portland. But I also do think he wouldn't have said this unless he really does believe it. And I have heard this for years. I didn't know where they were. And I'm throwing this out there as well. In the years past, Charlotte was a really good city where originally that stadium, they spoke about building it in downtown Charlotte. So if they possibly were thinking about it, was an area where they could expand. Now, it's a little tight being there, but also a great city where you already have the NBA team, you already have an NFL team, And now the only thing they are missing is a baseball team. So that's another possibility as far as a city that comes to mind when you talk about cities that could use another Major League Baseball team.
I will
The
say,
original-
I mean, go
Yeah,
ahead,
What's
Brad.
the
that?
original Charlotte Stadium. The original Charlotte Stadium was supposed to be built where you could build on more decks, and it was out in the middle of nowhere. It wasn't actually in Charlotte. When they built the new one, the bandbox that is Charlotte, I think Scotty Braun's got a homer in Charlotte. That place is a joke to hit, and it is street locked. They can't
Yeah.
go any farther. So I heard
Yeah.
when they built that, it is a beautiful stadium, but they built it with, hey, if we get a baseball team, we're going to have it at a different spot, because that is the best. That's the biggest minor league stadium there is, because it's like, I mean, it's like a
100%.
Pittsburgh background there. Beautiful
It's
city
sick,
line.
yeah. See, that's what they've already kind of developed, that vibe of, man, this could be a cool city, but that's my thing. Like you said, they've run out of room on the backside of that stadium, so they would have to move it. But it's like you would want it in downtown after seeing how much success the AAA stadium has had downtown.
And I'll say this. I mean, I get your point, or both of your points, on Portland making it easy for Seattle. There's some fans being like, well, would they have the territory? I don't know, on the TV territory and all that, how that stuff works. But I mean, if you have Salt Lake and then the Rockies end up being part of like more of a West division or however they put that together, you will start to make a much better situation for Seattle. That'll satisfy them enough for them to say, look, we care. We gave you a better situation. Let's hit just for a minute the schedule changes just to document that. It's nothing crazy. It's just a couple series that are being flipped that were later in the year in Tampa and now flipped to earlier in the year in Tampa. And MLB is trying to be cognizant of the fact that it is going to rain a lot, especially late in the summer in Tampa. And that ballpark they're playing in, which is the Yankee spring training home, does not have a roof. So this sounds smart. So the Rays will play 47 of their first 59 games at home. I'm not saying it's smart for competition purposes, but it's smart for scheduling purposes. And I mean, it's not the Rays' fault that they've gone through all of this, but I mean, they could spend their own money and get a retractable roof and buy their own ballpark, but they're still going through fighting to try and get the city to pay more. So the final 69 of the final 103 are going to be on the road to account for the Florida heat and the weather. I'm cool with it. I mean, I know you're probably going to have a different take, Kratz, where it's like the players are going to have some disadvantage. No?
I mean, I'm not worried about the players. I'm thinking about my bets next year on BetMGM so that we can get I can fade the Rays down late, because them boys is going to be on the road. 12 road games in your first 60 games. That is crazy. 12 road games. Like that is prime for the boys to just get hot. But also, like, let's call up Jeff Conine. Let's call up Pudge Rodriguez. Let's call up Juan Pierre. Let's call up every player that's ever played. Dan Uggla, that ever played for the Marlins. Cam Maybin. Whoops, him in Joe Robbie Stadium. Like, you boys got some rain, okay? You survived. You got hot. You survived. Like, we don't need to, like, just because we know that July gets 7 inches of rain, we're just flip-flopping some schedules. I don't know.
Yeah, listen, I lived it, man. Joe Roby, Shark Life, Dan Marino, you name it. I played at them all, and it's a part of it. Listen, and it's not as bad as you think. Do I remember having a couple 8-inning rain delays, or 9th inning 2 outs and the rain starts to come? Yeah, it sucks, but it isn't going to make that big of a difference. One thing you can't predict is Mother Nature. I believe that. And I also say that the good Lord's a fan of baseball, right? We know how it goes, Kratzy. It'll be raining in the forecast, and as soon as that third out's recorded, then it'll rain. It'll stop. It'll let you get the game in, and it'll be fine. But you're right. They put these guys back against the wall early, and we're going to see what they're made of. But, hey, sometimes – I think the situation they're going to be in, I think they're prepared for it anyway. So, who knows, man? I think they play a lot of away games at home anyway, being that the fan base isn't that great. And a lot of times you go play in Tampa, you look around and the away team has more fans there anyway. So I don't think it's going to be anything new to the Tampa Bay Rays anyway.
We got a window.
Yeah, he's got
You
a
got a
window.
window. Exactly.
That's the line. But yeah, they're
Hey,
gonna deal
what
with it.
did stink, Kratzy? I tell you this: I had a game, and it was only one. It doesn't happen much. Where you get a hit in the, let's say, bottom of the eighth, you go out to play defense. You don't make it through that inning, you don't get your hit. It rains, ends the game. That hit gone.
Yeah,
Need
it's
to
in
revert
abyss.
back.
It's in the abyss. Yeah. All right, we're coming to pick a free agent fit for Blake Snell. Let us know in the chat right now if you're in it, where you think he's going to sign.
We talked about this on my channel last week, and it always elicits a lot of commentary from the fans. I will say I'm firmly of the belief that the best era of Dodgers and Cody Bellinger is long past. That is not some sort of breaking news statement there. However, I don't think the Dodgers are in on Juan Soto. Ultimately, they're not in on Juan Soto. But if you don't get Soto and you're not able to, re-sign Teoscar Hernandez, which would be just the fail of the offseason if you don't get Teo back, then you need to start exploring. You need to start looking at different trade routes because, if we had a list that, talking about the outfield depth situation, yeah, I mean, the team hopes they're able to move prospect Dalton Rushing to left field, but, at some point, but it's not going to be on opening day. Andy Pages is a very good player when he's engaged, but he would right now, if Tommy Edmonds is your starting shortstop, Andy Pages is your starting center fielder, and Mookie Betts is an infielder now. So you need some help on the infield. When Cody is right, when he's engaged, and when we've seen him play a phenomenal right field in the past, the legs are slowing down a little bit for center field. I don't know. The longer I go around on this, I feel like I'm trying to talk myself into it. I think if things fall a certain way, yes, you can look at a Cody Bellinger reunion. I don't know that it's the right call, though. What do you feel about it,
I don't
Belly?
think you can create the magic that was that 2017 through 2019 team, or 2020 team. There are certain guys I would have liked back at a certain point. Like I would have liked to have never let Justin Turner go. Do I necessarily want JT back as our third baseman or DH? That doesn't fit anymore, right? So Kike, I always want back, and I don't care if it just starts October 1st. There's certain guys that make sense, but I don't think Belly at this point makes sense. Let me introduce you to Bentley. This good boy has been failed by humans so many times, but he is such a good dog. He is in a board and train program with Heroics Canine down in San Diego, but he is a phenomenal dog. He's about a 1.5-year-old to 2-year-old German Shepherd mix, probably a little German Shepherd, probably a little Husky. So active boy. He is neutered. He is vaccinated. He is healthy. He is microchipped. He's good with other dogs. He's very well behaved. Please reach out to me on my socials or obviously GidrysGuardian.org. Bentley is that's my dog's name, by the way, but this is the male version of Bentley instead of my female Bentley.
I was worried you were trying to trade in your dog. It's like, that doesn't sound right.
How dare you? How dare you? I would trade in you way before I traded in my dog.
Free agent fits. Where is Blake Snell signing? It's that simple. Cameron Maybin, you're up first.
I think what makes the most sense, not only for Blake Snell, but for an organization, is the New York Mets. When I look at it, I hear a lot of Corbin Burns, and I know Corbin's looking at 7 to 8 years. But I think Blake, 31 years old, you're looking at a 2 to 4 year deal, maybe some type of vesting options to make it worthwhile. I think your return will be worth what he's going to make in AAV. And then what also it does when you talk about a 2 to possible 4 year deal, it still allows you to possibly bring back Sean Manaea. And now you can also go get Soto and or Pete Alonso. So I think you bring him in, multiple Cy Young Award winner in both leagues. I think after his, lack of spring, his lack of buildup, we saw the real Blake Snell. His expected numbers were actually even better than the prior year, which is insane when you talk about how he was more efficient at getting ahead and finishing guys off last year. I think you add one of the best southpaws in the game, top 2, top 3. This guy does not give up hard contact. He is a situational monster. Runners on, guys, out of the stretch. Whatever you need, this guy is clutch. He's dominant, and I think that would be a great fit for where the Mets are right now.
What you're also going to get value out of Blake Snell is he's done it. He's done it. He can teach guys because he was a prospect. He was a left-handed prospect, turned 2-time Cy Young Award winner, punch-outs galore. So, as a team, if you have 2 prospect lefties, big dudes that sling the rock up there and you're looking for them to get some punch-outs, no better guy to learn from. The Washington Nationals have Mackenzie Gore. They have Mitchell Parker. And you sit there and you go, this is a fit for Blake Snell. Scott Boras is super used to doing work with the Nationals. I get it. It's a little different. But Rizzo knows what it's like to work with Scott. And he also knows, hey, we want to get this done early. So there's a fit there where it's like, hey, the Nats, they're ready to make a splash. No better person to hang on a billboard. Just like you had Max Scherzer hanging on a billboard, like you had Jason Worth hanging on a billboard to bring other guys in, is you get Blake Snell. You may, if Cam says it's a 4-year deal, you may have to give him a 5th year. I think he's going to get 5 years anyway, so you may have to give him a 6th year. But now you've solidified your team with a guy like Mackenzie Gore also, who seems like he's super competitive, super fiery, yelling at his teammates and everything. I love that from a starting pitcher. I think this will push him and make him a 200-plus strikeout guy per year when he's already a above-average strikeout pitcher. I think it'll help him, and he'll be watching somebody and he'll be competing against Blake Snell every day, getting the most out of 2 guys instead of just 1.
I love the fit for both sides here, right? For the Mets, they obviously need to rebuild the rotation because a lot of their guys are leaving, and we know they're going to spend money to do that. That's great. For the Nats, Kratz, before I reveal my answer, I just can't get a good read on them yet. Like, do they have PTSD from the Strasburg deal? Are they going to make a big splash? And if so, will they go the Jason Worth position player route instead of the pitcher route? Because there's a little bit more consistency and a little bit more safety with the health of a position player. A little bit, right? Or a lot more, honestly. I mean, if you compare a veteran position player to a veteran arm. I know there are a few arms that have really made it deep into their 30s as successful pitchers, but I don't know. I just feel like the Nats have more of a Alex Bregman, Pete Alonso, if they're playing at the top of the market, than a Blake Snell. That's me. I think you're going to probably make fun of where I go here. So I wanted to just give you a jab and then you can jab back. I'm just hedging my bets. I think the Boston Red Sox are in the market for a left-handed starting pitcher. We did Max Fried the other day. I said he's going to Boston. Now we're doing Blake Snell. I'm saying he's going to Boston. Why am I doing that? I doubt they're going to sign both, but I think they will very much go hard after one of them. I don't know which one they like better. So I'm going Blake Snell to Boston because I'd rather almost get one right than how many people actually do free agent fits like this for 10 to 15 guys and get it right. One domino falling in the wrong spot can actually lead you to a bunch of wrong answers. So I'm just going to say Boston Red Sox need a left-handed starter at the top of the rotation in that ballpark. Sure, they might have a little PTSD from some parts of David Price's deal not working out, but that's been long ago enough at this point. Also, they did win a World Series title during that time period. And in general, this team is well aware they need to spend. Will they do something big on the position player market? Maybe, but they definitely need to do something in terms of their starting rotation. So that's where I've got them going. And I mean, they gave the qualifying offer to Pivetta. I don't see him going back there. Snell's going to cost more, but you can already kind of bookmark that kind of budget towards a top-end starter who will be an upgrade in their rotation. Anyone want to pick at me?
I mean, I like the fact that
no qualifying offer attached this year, right? I think
Correct.
that was a holdup last year for Blake Snell. That's why I think it'll be a little bit easier to get him signed as well. And I just, you know what, I go back to Chris Sale. He has such a horrible time in Boston. And ever since the whole Mookie, fiasco, I don't know. They just had bad luck with guys. And I'm just not sure how many free agents want to sign in Boston. If he has something comparable, a deal with, let's say it's, Atlanta, let's say it's the Mets. I don't see him choosing Boston over one of those teams. Maybe the Nationals. Because like you said, Scotty, I don't know where the Nationals are. But I'm curious on where free agent pitchers are on the Boston Red Sox right now.
Yeah, I feel you.
Brett,
If things go south, then that is one of, if not maybe the toughest place to play. They will be all over you, and you got to be able to put up with that. I think in the past, there were people that'd be like, oh, Snell doesn't want to be in that kind of market or can't handle it. And I'm like, I think he's offended by people that would even think that way. I mean, he pitched in Boston and New York a ton. I know it's different when you're actually on those teams, but he had some thriving years with Tampa Bay. And I just think he's going for wherever the most money is at this point. This is going to be his big deal of his career.
If he's going where the most money is, that's definitely not Boston.
Well, where do you think the most money is? I mean,
and that's why I think the Mets make sense, because at 31 he could take I'm with Kratzy. Like, it makes sense, but I think at 31, you think his resume, and even last year, the way he finished, the stuff is still elite. I think the Mets will be willing to pay a little bit higher AAV for less years, especially where they are right now, depending on, again, who they can bring back around them. I mean, he might be willing to take that type of deal. I don't know. Again, you think he wants the 5 or 6 year deal?
Max years, max money. That's
for sure.
I don't want to say a fact, but I got pretty strong sources on this one. It's, where's my biggest money? This is my big payout. If there's a team that's going to throw out their 5 years something, like Kratz said, even if it's a lower average annual value than what a 3 or 4 year deal would look like, how much money is that he's looking to cash out? That's what I'm seeing with him.
Yeah, and I think, just to wrap it up, I think Boston would be more in the line to get a Garrett Crochet because of their prospects that they have and the fact that their owner has gator arms and he's cheap.
How much is he? All right, well, maybe I'm going to be wrong on both and I'll get swept. But anyway, next guest on the list, Alex Tantum, who runs MLB.fits, the social media account. We'll go over some swag. We'll mostly let Cam and Alex. Kratz and I are just meathead observers. All right, let's hit it. Let's talk about Manscaped. You're hearing me, right?
Yeah, barely.
Barely.
Just sounds a little hollow.
Oh, okay. I think I knocked my mic out, so that's cool. I know Manscaped would appreciate this, because if you're not being smooth, then you probably don't have the red shaver. Kratz, take it away.
Yeah, 100%. And the holiday pack, that's what's needed. Look at Cam's little mustache that he's got. You can shave that little Pepe Le Pew mustache. You can get it with with everything that Manscaped offers in their little package, and you can get this. You can't polish a turd here, but you know what? You can trim it up, especially with the Chairman Pro. Oof. The Chairman Pro, I'm telling you. And I always say it, this, John, is a lot of landscape, a lot of square footage. That thing just boop, 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 ready to go.
I love it. Clean as a whistle.
I'm here. I'm back. All right, so let's run through this. This is the main part of what we're throwing out there for Manscaped, always sponsoring many FT pods and shows. Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale. Just go to the site, 25% off site-wide. It's that simple, okay? The entire order plus the free shipping all happens with 25% off. So get after it. Yes, we promote what we love, which includes the Chairman Pro. Since most of us on this show deal with our beard game, we're keeping it nice and clean, which Cam does really well. But check it out. Go get yourself a holiday pack. Gift it. 25% off, FT fam. Be right back to go over the best fits in Major League Baseball.
welcoming the guy who definitely is going to give me the fit and the fits advice, Alex Tatum. Appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me, man.
What are we working with? You're running the MLB.fits account, so we're going to go a little bit behind the scenes here. When you came on, we found out that you were going to be one of our guests, Claudia, who you met, Claudia was giving me a hard time, saying that this segment does not apply to me because I dress like a dad. But I have boys who are 18 and 15, and my daughter's 12. So you need to help me as an ex-MLB player get my fit tight so that I'm able to fit in as I'm coaching the kids on my baseball team.
Okay, I can help with that.
You can help with it. So
Yeah.
where do I start? Do I have to ask Cameron Maybin all these questions, or are you going to give me the lowdown of who I need to watch?
I can give you a lowdown. I'm sure Cam can help out too. I mean, he's got some good stuff going on, and he knows his stuff. But I can help you out too. Help you get that cool dad look while you're coaching.
Oh, okay, but so before we get to that, Alex, can you tell the people MLB.fits? You guys run a awesome account, especially when you talk about the youth, right? I think you guys are doing a great job of really bringing eyes to a younger audience, which I think is huge for the game of baseball. Talk to us and tell us about how you guys got started with MLB.fits and what's the goal?
Yeah, so I started this a couple years back, about 4 or 5 years ago now. Time flies. But yeah, so I've been following this account called League Fits for a while, which is like the main NBA outfits page. And I just had an appreciation, I guess, for the outfits. I thought, see a given outfit and be like, oh, that's cool. Oh, that's cool. And, just being, baseball fan all my life as well, I just thought to myself, was always looking for a way to get involved in the game and thought, okay, there's an area in Major League Baseball, where we can help the fans connect with the players more, market the players more, in showcasing their fashion. Fashion's an extension of players' personalities. So just started out posting, lots of outfits, and then kind of extended, outfits are still the main part of it, of course, but extended to, any interactions between players and celebrities, any cool gear on the field, anything that, can show to the youth that baseball is cool. But yeah, so, I mean, the main inspiration points for me were, seeing all those NBA player outfits, and then also feeling like there was, room to grow the game of baseball amongst, a younger audience, kind of like you were talking about.
Why is baseball so far behind? Why? I mean, that's my perception. And how can we catch up?
Well, I'll say that I think since I started the account, it's definitely there's been major improvements from, I think, really like every angle. I think MLB Social has been doing a lot better since I started. I think that there's more players who care about their outfits and what they're wearing on and off the field. That was part of the reason also I started the account, is that I felt that, no offense to you, Erik and Cam, but as more younger guys came in the game, that they'd have more, of a passion about fashion and more, and recognize the importance of like building a brand on their own socials. So they post more on like Instagram of their outfits and of the cool things they're doing. But yeah, so I think that there's more guys now posting their outfits and stuff like that. But I think one of the major challenges you see with like Major League Baseball that say, other leagues don't have is you got 162 games. So, I mean, unless maybe you're like the best dressed guy in baseball, like you're not going to be wanting to have a great or dress up and plan an outfit for 162 times. The NFL is just 17 weeks. The NBA, those guys are just more naturally inclined to fashion. I don't know how much money they're spending on that stuff in the NBA. But I think in terms of improving, in the future, I think it's just a matter of, and I've seen this since I started as well, more team coverage on, social channels, more player posting. So that content's out there and just embracing who you are, I think.
Hold on. First off, offense taken. If you said no offense, Kratzy and Cam. First
Yeah,
off,
you can't just say.
Hold on. First off, you didn't do your homework because when I was playing, you didn't see guys rocking these.
Okay.
First off, I was ahead of my time, Alex. Put some respect on my name. You weren't watching guys rocking knees. You weren't. Put some respect on my name. You see those being worn. Put some respect on my name, Alex. Let's go. Second of all, what I heard is that you said that MLB has got better since you started MLB.fits. Is that what I'm hearing you say? And then you said that social media has got better posting their guys' fits since you started. I'm just making sure I got that right. It's okay if that's the truth too.
No, I mean I think it's the truth to an extent. And one thing I'll say is I know you dress well, but like that's the thing, right? Like you didn't have social, like an Instagram account when you were playing MLB. I don't know. I don't even know. Maybe they had a Facebook. I don't know. But like they weren't.
They definitely had Facebook.
Yeah, I'm not on Facebook, but I don't know. So that's the thing right there is that like, they're not posting as much. And you see, like, I think for me, the big times where the outfits are posted on like team and league socials is like tempo events. So like opening day, the All-Star game is like great for that. I feel like that's the main event of the year for me. And then, playoffs and World Series. I do think in general, it still depends a little bit on the team as opposed to, how much they're posting about it. I think I'll shout out some teams that I think in particular do a great job of it, like the Mets, the Yankees, the Phillies, I think, posted outfits like every Friday. I do think in general it's gotten better. Now, is there still room for improvement? Yeah, there's definitely still, I think, more room for outfit posts and fun personality posts. I think one thing is just that, like, you could even, I mentioned the challenge about 162 games, but you could even, have the social team, tell the guys on the team, oh, hey, like, we're planning on taking photos of you guys today or on a given day to post on Instagram and Twitter and whatever. So make sure you're wearing your best things. And that could help guys be like, okay, I'm going to dress well today. I'm going to plan an outfit for that day. And that could kind of help overcome the challenge of, so many days, arriving to the ballpark.
Hey, question for you. What's your relationship like with the players? Do they reach out to you about, their outfits or, have you had any good interactions that we should know about? Obviously, we have players on this show every day. Yeah. So curious how it's been for you.
Yeah, I mean, that's been one of my favorite parts of it. I mean, I try not to get too starstruck with certain guys, but like I think as time's gone on, I just feel like, the guys are really just, and that's why I try to show is that the guys are just people. I think that's a really important thing too, is that I think fans forget sometimes, like, these guys are just human beings, and that's part of the reason too why I like showing off another side of them. But I think it's been really cool just to, kind of chop it up with some guys about their outfits and what they're wearing on and off the field. Actually, I have my annual MLB.fits awards that I'm kind of been rolling out starting about a week ago, and through December I'll be rolling them out. But I've had some guys this year, DMing me, asking me if they're going to be on the team or stuff like that. Not going to say any names there, but because I'm not sure if they'll end up being on the team. They'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I think one thing that stood out for me that was really cool towards the beginning is there was this guy who was following me for a couple months, and so I was like, I didn't know who they were, of course, because they were just like a private account. But I looked at their account one day, and you could see on Instagram who like is following them. I guess because if you're following some person and they're following that given account, you could see who's following them. So I saw this private account with like, I don't know, 700 followers, maybe like 1,500 following. And I see that like David Price is following it. Mookie Betts is following it. Just like a bunch of MLB stars. And I'm like, this has to be somebody. Like, who is this? So I wasn't following them at the time, but I ended up requesting them because I was like, who is this? And so I requested them, and then they accepted my, follow request, and it turned out to be CC Sabathia's, like, I guess, I won't say burner account, but just like his private account where he posts other stuff. And I was like, oh my God, like, this is CC Sabathia. And it was like, and I just like messaged him, and he said like, yeah, I love what you're doing. And that was probably like the first really cool moment for me where I was like telling my parents and my friends, I'm like, oh my God, like CC Sabathia likes this. So that was really cool.
So everybody's going to need to go to MLB.fits to like see the team, see if you're going to make the team or not. Can you give us a sneak peek of who the best are? Not saying who the team is. I don't want you to ruin your MLB.fits team on FT. But who do you got? Who is your echelon of guys? And throw in some older dudes in there too, like CC. CC used to wear some velour jumpsuits with the best of them.
Yes, yeah, for sure. I think some guys that I just think consistently dress well, and they may or may not be on the team. We'll see. Jazz Chisholm Jr. Is one who's always up there. Francisco Lindor won Player of the Year for me last year. Manny Machado won Player of the Year for me the year back before that. But I'd say, Lindor's probably consistently one of the best dressed. Gleyber Torres stepped up his game this year, I'd say. Jack Flaherty on the Dodgers. I mean, these are just some of the guys I'm thinking of. But those are some of the current ones. Oh, Bryce Harper is always a good one. His All-Star Game fit this year was a lot of fun. Embracing, the Texas lifestyle. Jaron Duran has some really good red carpet fits.
Acuna.
Acuna, yeah, how could I forget? Thank you.
Hey, I'll tell you who else you forgot. You forgot Aroldis Chapman, one of the best dressed guys in the game. Shout out to the veterans. That dude puts that on.
Yeah, for sure.
Say.
And quickly, a couple older ones for you. CC, Cam. I'll say Cam. Make up for saying that.
Hey, Cam, you old.
I gotta be on there, bro. I gotta be on the best dress list, bro. I always came with it.
Derek Jeter, a little bit back in the day. He had some swag. Ichiro Suzuki. I'm telling you, he knew what he was doing.
I want you to hit on MLB.fits. I want you to hit like a different group of people now. Okay, you need to have your all pre-arbitration team, because all the dudes you're talking about all got. You're looking at me like, what's pre-arbitration? You're talking about dudes with like $10-20 million a year. We can't all be getting them bedazzled shoes with gum on the bottom like Cam's got. Cam's got a big, look like he stepped in a dog turd with his red bottoms. Like,
hey, boys, you gotta wear them things. Like they cost too much.
Boys like me, we don't got that. We don't got that kind of cash. So I think you might be able to hit a little bit better. Like, who's some dudes? And I'm not talking about Jackson Holiday rocking his $10 million signing bonus. You need to find the MLB.fits. Who's got the best fits for dudes who ain't got cash?
The
league minimum team. The all league minimum team.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. Yeah, I like it. I actually do like that. That's interesting. How are they getting creative with it? They don't have all the money to play with. I like it.
I like it.
All right. Well, this was great. We really appreciate the time, dude. Great to talk fits with you. We'll look out for the awards. Obviously, everyone knows where to find you. Look up MLB.fits. And great to talk to you, Alex. Thanks for the time, man.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. Really appreciate it. It was great talking a little bit of fits with you guys.
Yeah, loved it. Be right back, FT fam. We got a few more things to hit, including the Cubs' questionable spending tactics. Hit the Giants today? Why not? Ooh, see, this was a tough one, guys. This was one where you're looking and you're like, I'm not touching this. And if you felt that way, you probably made the right move. So the Giants opened up at 81.5, and really that current line is where you're at right before the season starts, 83.5 dubs for 2024. They finish at 80. Some people essentially got hooked. They bought that 81.5 number. They finished at 81 or at 80, I guess, close to hooked. See, that's just it's a tough spot.
We said no. I remember saying no, and it was like you can't, especially with you don't know what that team is going to do. Blake Snell signed late. They had that Robbie Ray trade. So you sit there and you go, all right, like this team it's just too close to a 500 team. And would those guys have pushed them over? Would they have pitched most of the year? All that stuff. I remember that discussion, and it was just too tough. There's too many slam dunks to touch that one.
It's over, under, or no. That's how we do it before the season starts. So we'll go over all the team win totals coming up next year too. But yeah, the Giants were too close to call. Leave them alone. Spend that money elsewhere. All right, FT fam, want to announce what's going on with the BetMGM Poker World. If you missed it yesterday, let's have a look again at what we're working with. And that means if you're in New Jersey or you're in Michigan, you can combine powers now. They merged player pools in those two spots. So they're hitting it out of the park with these bigger prize pools, more players, and obviously, a bigger pot, 400K plus in guarantees each week. So hit the felt at BetMGM Poker. They lead the world in that category. All right, FT fam, we'll be right back. We're going to go over a disappointing report from Bob Nightingale on the Cubs spending, and then we'll spread rumors on Juan Soto. Spreading rumors. So Bob Nightingale said that it looks like the Cubs are not going to be in on any of the big boys. So obviously they haven't been mentioned for Soto, but you can cross off, I would say Burns, probably Frieden, Snell, and maybe a couple other position players that are going to be playing at the top of the market that they might not feel like they need anyway. They're not going to be in the running for Bregman. So I'm going to take a different route today, Kratz. Instead of being all critical and saying, what are you doing? And you should be spending more at the top. I'm actually just genuinely curious to see what they will do. What are you going to do to convince me that you should be a World Series winning team? Because this is the year coming up that we had pegged where it's like they should be all out. So I'm curious to see what all out looks like. Just throwing that out there. I mean, they actually, I will say, have a decent farm system. So you're going to trade a bunch of dudes. Impress me, because what we saw last year was similar to what we saw the year before. It's close to a 500 team. Started off poorly, finished well, not good enough.
I mean, what world do Cubs fans think they have the right mix of players right now? Is it because they have Craig Counsell? And I am one of the biggest Craig Counsell fans. But Craig Counsell had Christian Yelich. Craig Counsell had Devin Williams. Craig Counsell had had Corbin Burns, had Brandon Woodruff, had You need guys that are going to step up. Josh Hader. Like, yes, Craig Counsell will get the most out of your roster, but he's not going to turn lemons into lemonade. You need sugar. And in the offseason, free agency is when you find that sugar to make the best kind of lemonade. And I think they made the right move of going to him as a manager. And I think maybe the ideas that he brings over are daunting to catch the Brewers. I don't think the Cubs are that far. I don't think the Cubs are that far behind. I get it. He said daunting, and, a lot's been made of it. Murph made shirts. Pat Murphy made shirts about it. To me, this is where you eliminate that dauntingness and you say, we are the biggest market in the NL Central, and we are going to dominate this division for a long time by making moves in the offseason. For them to come out and say this, now Bob reported it. Bob is spot on with stuff, so I'm not saying it's a lie. I'm just saying you need to be in on some of these guys. Just because you need the players. Teams in the East need to be in on the big guys because maybe they won't get them, but you'll drive it up for other guys in their division, which will not give them any payroll flexibility. You don't need to drive guys up. The Pirates ain't calling any of these guys. The Pirates are not looking to get Alex Bregman. The Brewers are not looking to possibly get, even Willie Adames back. They can't. So you sit there and you go, how can we upgrade our team in free agency? Let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, Pirates started off hot, showed to be the Pirates, even with the whole Paul Skeens energy and everything that he bought. Still the Pirates. St. Louis, like you said, we won't say rebuild, but a rebuild. You can say it. Milwaukee doesn't even want to bring back one of their best hitters, shopping him right now. Like you said, the time is now. And we're talking about the Chicago Cubs. We're talking about a place that sells out in the summertime no matter what product you put out there on the field. They have the coin to spend, right? Even if it is one of the two free agent pitchers, even if it is a Bregman, even if it is a bullpen guy, I continue to say Estevez, who was great for the Angels, great for the Phillies, another guy who won't be that expensive that's out there. There are pieces to go and bolster this team. So I'm just extremely curious as well where they go from here. This fan base is clamoring for a winning team, right? You're absolutely right about Craig Counsell. Kratzy, one thing I want to say is shout out David Ross. He did the same thing the year before. So, I mean, you go pay the manager $8 million and whatnot, and you expect that he comes in and he's going to change something when you really don't improve the roster like you should. So I think at some point you got to give him the pieces, like Kratzy said. You have to be willing to spend a little bit of money, take some risk, and go and get pieces that you think can help you win ball games, especially in a division that is extremely wide open, and it has been for the last few years. So at what point do you plan on making a move is my question for the Chicago Cubs. It's right there in front of you right now.
It's right there in front of you, and the cash is in your pocket. All that you walk around Wrigley Field, yeah, they sell out in the summer, yes, all that stuff. Cubs fans are rabid. They support the Cubs, the best of, their top five in the league. They support their team. They support them not just in the stadium, they support them all around. And all those buildings around there, the hotels, the townhouses, the bars, the restaurants. Guess who's buying that up? Cubs. Chicago Cubs is buying that up. I think it's time that ownership does something for the fans that the fans have been doing for years, and that's support them and support the team. And this is a good free agent class to dip your toes in, maybe get one or two of these guys and really bolster a team that I think is a 500 team without any moves and could clearly win the division with some moves.
You go pair one of those free agent guys with a Justin Steele. Now all of a sudden, like you said, again, prior a Jameson Taillon, and prior to
Imanaga,
prior to not hearing that they were in or out on them, the whole time when you would have asked me, I was going, Blake Snell is a Cub. I mean, man, talk about those fans. Kratzy, how much would they love Blake Snell every fifth day? Those fans would talk about loud when you got Snell, Steele, Imanaga, Taillon. Now you really have something Now all of a sudden that 500 team for sure is a few games over 500 for sure. Now you go get a piece here, there. Who knows if it's a Christian Walker at first base again at his age, might be affordable. The money's there to go get a starter and another hitter and maybe a bullpen guy to where now the fans, they're excited, right? Right now, it's just one of those. I mean, again, like Kratz said, they're going to support him, but you're not giving them anything to be excited about, and it's right there in front of you.
I've obviously voiced my opinion on this many times, but I will say this: top 10 payroll, and if this is where they are going to play ball and they spend else in the division, they're going to tell their current front office group, "Hey, you're not getting the job done." I think they're on the hot seat. If they don't make the playoffs this year, they're gone. Here we are. But, I mean, they spent a lot of money on Dansby Swanson. Cody Bellinger on a per-year basis is making a lot of money. Cubs should definitely be spending besides that, right? So I'm looking at opening day payrolls on USA Today's site. They were 9 at $213 million. I don't know what they finished with, but that's top 10. Now, should they, I always like to play fairly here. Like the Mets should be ahead of them. The Yankees should be ahead of them. The Dodgers should be ahead of them. That's where it starts, though. There's a few teams that once you start there, right, you have the Astros, Rangers, Phillies, Blue Jays, Braves.
Phillies, maybe.
And then we get to the Cubs, okay? And we can make the same case for the Giants in this world, too. And obviously the Red Sox should be playing ball at a much higher rate, okay?
I didn't even say – they have their own TV net. They have Marquee. Marquee's doing their thing. Like teams that have that have stability. And I love their Dansby Swanson signing. But they went and got the cheapest available shortstop in that shortstop market. Did they go and get the best one? I love Dansby Swanson. And going into his free agent year, he had changed some stuff. He was really staying on a lot of balls, a lot more consistently, driving them to the opposite field, like Kevin Seitzer was talking about. And I think he upped his value. But again, they didn't dip their toes into the most expensive free agents during that time. So I feel like they should go in somewhere here this year.
Dansby Swanson's OPS plus the last 2 years, 2024, 98, 2023, 104. You can say, he's underperformed. But also, though, to be fair, guys, yeah, it was the career year, I think, at the plate for him. 114 was 2022. But before that, 99, 111, 89, 87. Like, he's actually performing exactly how he's always been for his career.
Yep.
And Kratz, you make a great Kratz. That point you make is a great point. And they went out and got the most affordable shortstop of that free agent class. Mm-hmm. So right there, that sets you up for success, actually. And to add to your point, Scott, he's actually giving you what he's always been. So he hasn't underperformed that contract. Essentially, if you think about the player that you were getting, and defensively, he is one of the best in the game.
Yeah, but he's not a superstar. He's not even. I don't know if he's made an all-star team, maybe one, but that's not an all-star. Really everyday player at the shortstop position.
Yep.
Let's slap. Quick shout out at the top here because there's many of you watching on TV, and then some of you migrate over to YouTube and hang out with us in the chat and throw a super chat our way. So Ref saying happy holidays, right back at you, my dude. And then Jordan Richard said, my son's first time listening to the show. Anyway, he get a shout out. His name is Theo. Go Cardinals. And definitely getting a shout out. And also, name is Theo as a Cardinals fan, which is cool with the Cubs-Cardinals rivalry. There's something to that, Theo, if you don't know about it.
Thanks.
Have Daddy-O tell you about it. That's cool.
100%.
Theo's a big deal in Chicago. Just throwing that out there. All right. One news bit we didn't get to that I want to hit. Robinson Chirinos. Fresh off the field, was it last year or the year before? Now it's all tying together, Kratz. Did he play last year or the year before?
A year before with the
year
Baltimore
before.
Orioles, I believe.
Year before. Okay. And now he's already their bench coach. So good for him. Did you guys come across him at all?
Oh yeah.
Playing against him.
Yeah. Is he manager material?
I don't know him at all. Playing against him, he was always locked in. Rarely talked to him.
Yeah, I spoke to him. He always had that leadership aura, right? It seemed like the guys always gravitated to him. And then too, you just look at his career. The career speaks for itself. Guy that's been around, that was always wanted. You know what I mean? So I think it's a good move. I like that.
It's cool. All right. Ready for this? Tomorrow, Ken Rosenthal, Luis Heel, AL Rookie of the Year, as we keep
Let's go.
chatting with the award winners, and Brady Singer, who just got moved from Kansas City to Cincinnati, all on the show. Trevor May will join us for a little co-host action. So for you, Cam, obviously it's been a fun run so far, dude. We'll catch you, I'm sure, in December too, but happy holidays, dude. Go big on Thursday,
Happy
all right?
Thanksgiving to you guys. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
about to get my Kratzy on. Let's go.
Yeah.
Spread killer. I did two things good in
Spread
baseball.
killer.
One of them was kill spread, Keith.
Eat like your Kratz and you're about to get
Spread
fired.
killer.